What's up, everybody? This is Chrysler bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about another plane crash that happened quite close to me out here in Northern California. Next up, we're going to talk about a horrible, and it's been happening a lot lately, but a horrible highway crash that killed like 6 people and injured another person over in Charlotte. And last but not least, we're going to head out to Hollywood, California and check out the new Tesla diner and what people are saying about it. So, it's going to be a quick show. Let's jump straight into it. So, last night, or yesterday, there was a plane crash out here in Northern California, closer to Pacific Grove, which is one of the ritzier places out here in Northern California. And, you know, we've experienced so many plane crashes as of late that we've seen. And I think more for myself, I think it's more that we're just getting more coverage of plane crashes than we did before. But we have seen and have been introduced to a lot of plane crashes, a lot of accidents when it comes to planes over the last couple years. And it's really putting a fear of flying in people's minds. So let's check out this latest plane crash that has happened here in Northern California and go from there.
Now, we're continuing to follow news this morning of a private plane crash overnight in Pacific Grove. The Coast Guard says they're searching for 3 people that were on board. It happened offshore near Silomar. Now, we're continuing to follow news this morning of a private plane crash overnight in Pacific Grove. The Coast Guard says they're searching for 3 people that were on board. It happened offshore near Silomar.
Oxygen tanks, metal pieces.
This is the video sent in by our viewers showing debris washing up on the shore. The Monterey County Sheriff's Office, Pacific Grove Police, the Coast Guard, and CAL FIRE were on the scene responding to the incident during the overnight hours. Taking a look at what we know, flight radar shows the private plane took off from Carlos Airport shortly after 10 o'clock Saturday night. It was headed to Monterey Airport. Also from flight radar, the plane, a twin-engine Beechcraft plane, crashing into the water just before 10:40. U.S. Coast Guard officials received reports of the incident around 15 minutes later, and we're among the first on scene. They supplied 2 boats and a helicopter for search efforts and say there were 3 people that were on board the plane. We also know that according to CAL FIRE, witnesses reported hearing the aircraft engine revving before splashing into the water. We also know Community Emergency Response Team was at the scene waiting for the National Transportation Safety Board. The debris will remain at the beach until the NTSB arrives to gather it and determine the cause of the crash. We will have more information as it becomes available. You can follow along our website at ksbw.com or on our KSBW app.
All right, so once again, just a horrible situation when people are pass or die in incidents like this. Now, we have got confirmation that the people did die. Did go back onto the KION webpage, and it did say, which of course, kind of the problem with news is that they don't always get it right. But we went on the KION news channel page, and it says 3 people dead after plane crash just offshore Pacific Grove. So it does show that they confirmed that the people did pass away as part of this crash. Small aircraft just crashed just offshore at Silomar State Beach. Monroe County Sheriff's Office confirms the 3 people aboard have died from the crash. The bodies have been recovered. Now you read that, and you go down a little bit further. A screenshot from Flight Trader 24 shows the area where the plane crashed into the water. But it says the plane departed from San Carlos at 10:11 p.m. Saturday night and was scheduled to land at Monterey Regional Airport at 12:20 a.m. But then it says down here, officials on scene tell KON that one of the 3 people on board was found dead, and there's still an active search and recovery mission for the other 2. So, you know, they still pretty much putting out different information on exactly what's going on. And I had a friend that kind of seen and heard this incident. This happened fairly close to their home, so kind of the part of the reason we're doing this, because of course not car related, but we have to understand that we've done a lot of shows about crashes here on this, plane crashes, helicopter crashes, all kinds of aeronautical crashes on this show over the last couple of months. And it's been on the news a lot. We've talked a lot about crashes in planes. So is planes crashing a lot more these days than they did before? Is flying even safe anymore with now we know, percentage-wise, that as many planes take off per day, that these random crashes that we're seeing are not bolstering the percentage numbers at all. But we have seen, of course, the situations when it comes to, not having air traffic controllers, needing those positions to be filled. We are seeing situations where people are having problems with the pilots and the pilots not being readily available or having a good amount of pilots to fill positions. It leads into that. We always talk about the Boeing situation where they're always on strike and everybody's always trying to shut them down because they're not paying their people correctly. So we've seen just several situations where in the aviation industry, lots of problems. And it comes to a head when we continue to see all of these crashes and all these people dying because of faulty airplanes or whatever the reason may be. This is an older model Beechcraft airplane, it seems. So there's several reasons why it could have gone down. It sounds like the way that it was explained to me by my friend, what he heard and what they explained on the video is that it sounded like the plane was having engine trouble, and that's pretty much what caused it to go down. And we are going to investigate and keep abreast of what we know about the story and probably revisit this, but it does continue to put a slight scare in people's minds when it comes to their desire to fly. I myself fly a decent amount, off to Vegas a couple times a year, off to Indiana a couple times a year, headed to Indiana next month. And, it's not putting any fear in my heart because I don't fly much and I think that my flights are pretty standard. And I'm one of those guys that believes that, even when it comes to, driving, and it's one of the reasons that I'm still not the biggest fan of these Waymos and these robo-taxis is that the idea that the person that is driving you to and fro, they themselves don't want to die, so they take precautions to make sure you're safe while you're driving with them. And you don't have those precautions when you're driving in these robo-taxis or Waymos. They're just machines trying to get you from A to B and, figuring out what's between A to B to make sure you get there safe. So, prayers out to the family of the people that died in this plane crash. It's just another horrible instance of, people losing their lives, in situations where they didn't think they were going to lose their lives. And that's always very sad to see. So, but it will not put a hamper on my desire to fly. I definitely have to get back and forth from Indiana. And I hope it doesn't put a damper on other people's desire to fly either, but it just causes you to be mindful. Okay? All right, so next up, we're going to head over to Charlotte and check out a crash that happened on I-485. Now, it probably wasn't a crash caused by an electric vehicle. You know how I like to promote those, but, let's check it out.
Eyewitness News at 10 starts right now. Developing tonight, authorities are investigating what caused a crash that killed 6 people and sent one other person to the hospital in Southwest Charlotte. It happened just before noon near the Wilkinson Boulevard exit on the outer loop. Channel 9's Glenn Counts reports from Dixie River Bridge with what we know so far.
The accident took place under the Dixie River Bridge on 45. It caused traffic on the outer section to be shut down for hours. The 2 cars that were involved in the accident appear to have been shredded. The collision happened around 11:30 in the morning, impacting traffic around the airport.
I took the smaller roads, which not a lot of people know about, since we drive the roads often, so we know all the shortcuts.
Troopers say this Honda CR-V and Chrysler minivan collided and drifted to the right.
Y'all see that? Look at that. Look at that. How you and how do you think that something like that could happen to a vehicle? I mean, flipped over a couple times, maybe smashed in directly. How is it possible for a vehicle to get torn up like that? I mean, even a front end impact wouldn't cause it to have all of that damage. That is crazy.
This Honda CR-V and Chrysler minivan collided and drifted to the right, striking a tractor trailer that was parked on the side of the road.
Tells you right there.
Troopers say the truck driver was not harmed and is not at fault. Troopers say there was only one person in the Honda, and that occupant was killed. They say a total of 6 people were in the Chrysler. 5 of them were killed. All of the victims were pronounced on the scene. Fortunately, there is some good news. A 16-year-old in the Chrysler survived. She was taken to the hospital, and her injuries are not considered to be life-threatening. A lot of motorists are thinking about the tough challenges that may lie ahead.
When everyone in your car dies but you, I mean, I don't even know how you handle that.
I'm a minister. So every time I see ambulance, a fire engine, a police car go by me, I pray for them immediately that God go with them.
Troopers spent most of the day trying to contact the next of kin and trying to figure out what caused this tragic accident. At 4:85, Glenn Counts, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Wow. That's just crazy. And that kind of damage, that kind of destruction on vehicles in an accident is just wild. You just don't see it. You have to think about the speeds that people are traveling at to cause these kinds of damage to their vehicle. And you almost have to consider the fact that the person who was in the Honda, that single person that was in the Honda, and the way that Honda was destroyed was probably one of the vehicles or the vehicle going the fastest and moving in a way that could cause such destruction. I mean, even the van, the minivan that had the 5 people in it that passed, you could see in it that it was the top of it was shaved off. So to some degree, you know, the whatever struck it was not ground level. Okay, does that make sense? If it was ground level, then we would have saw the destruction on the front of the hood, the front bumper, all those things. But the destruction that you saw in that vehicle was completely in the area of the top of the vehicle where the windshields are, where the hood and the A-pillars are. And that tells you that the vehicle that struck it was a taller vehicle. Now, you saw that the truck was there. So Dollars of Donuts, what happened to the van was that it in some way, shape, or form was pushed under or into the side of the truck to cause it to tear the top of the van off. But the destruction on the Honda is just, you can't even fathom on how it happened. And if it flipped over several times, if it was ran over by the truck or something like that, because the damage on it was so massive, so destructive that I can't even wrap my brain around how all of that damage occurred. I mean, the flipping over idea, it seems like it could be very credible. If something was to run into it directly and then to continue to smash into it or to continue to run over it as it tore it apart, that could make some kind of sense. But that kind of destruction is just is based on, it definitely has to be based on some degree that the person in the Honda was driving at some massive speed. The speed has to be a very quantifiable factor in this accident, to the point where that Honda had been driving at a massive speed that when it started its crash sequence, that it continued to crash upon itself or continue to, push into whatever it was crashing into, continue to, slide on the ground or slide against some entity that caused all the ripping and tearing that we saw on the vehicle. So we have to devise off our visual cues that Honda was going at some massive speed. So I'm not going to sit here and point at any faults. Can't base any faults. You don't have any idea what happened, how it happened, who did what. So I'm not going to sit here and start to shell out blame. It's just another horrible accident that's killed 6 people with 1 survivor whose life probably is going to be extremely hard because of this. So it's just another situation where we have to send out prayers for these people and their families. And, we have to talk about the fact that, the idea is to make our roads safer. And really, the honest way, only way to make our roads safer is to make sure that the people who are on our roads are safe drivers and comparable drivers. And now, mind you, accidents happen. Things out of our control happens. Our cars break down. We talk about this a lot when it comes to recalls and technology that could just break down at any second. And we know that cars cause these accidents in some cases, and we talk about recalls weekly. We don't know if the person who was driving the Honda's brakes went out because of some problem that wasn't fixed due to a recall. We don't know if the truck's van's gas pedal got stuck to the point where it was speeding down the road, which I've seen happen before. So it's sad, but the truth is that we're never going to truly be able to remove accidents like this from our roads because of how many factors there are that could cause them. Human error, mechanical failure, and just a desire to be fast. And all these things could cause accidents that could cause us to lose family members and friends. So all you can really say is that if you're on the highways, you have to be mindful, have to be careful, have to follow the laws, obey all the traffic signs, and hope for the best, because this could happen to anybody at any time. All right, so last but not least, we're going to check out something that's more exciting, maybe a positive thing for some. Is the Tesla diner that has opened up out in California. Now, Tesla, of course, is, doing lots with all the new Teslas coming out, robo taxis that they're implementing in the world, and their Tesla robots, the Tesla Powerwalls. Tesla has been making great moves for quite some time, so it's no surprise that they've stepped out and put out a diner that is pretty much just a thing that is going to help them push their brand forward. So let's check it out.
Brand new Tesla diner in Hollywood, California, and this is not your typical EV charging experience. The Tesla diner has 80 charging stations, 2 giant movie screens, and classic American comfort food.
So the first thing we realize is the Tesla diner is, their entryway to building the infrastructure that is going to be necessary for us to have a world that has a lot more of these EV vehicles driving around. So this place has several EV charging stations. I'm assuming since it's Tesla diner, they'll keep them up in quality, because a lot of problems that we're having with other charging stations around the world is that they're not being kept up well. Copper's being stolen from them. They're being vandalized because people who are not fans of electric vehicles are just not fans, so they're starting to destroy these charging stations. So the first thing we see is that this Tesla diner, of course, is going to have several, supercharging stations that are going to help the infrastructure for Tesla and pretty much other EV vehicles if they're allowed to charge there and if they have the adapters. So let's keep going.
Let's take a look around.
Tesla is calling the design retro-futuristic. The metal exterior of the 2-story restaurant resembles the company's Cybertruck, with indoor seating downstairs and an outdoor sky pad for dining and movie watching upstairs. While you're charging your car, you can order food and catch a movie on the 2 66-foot-tall mega screens. Inside.
But that tells you a lot, though. See, if they're going to sit here and say, oh, well, when you charge your vehicle, you could come in here and eat dinner and catch a movie, that automatically tells you how long it's going to take you to charge your damn car. They already understand that the infrastructure for electric vehicles still doesn't allow for you to charge your vehicles quickly enough for you to get you in and out like a gas station. So they have to implement these situations where, we understand that you're going to have to charge your vehicle for 30, 45 minutes. So, hey, come in here, get something to eat, watch a movie. They're just preparing for the idea that they understand that charging your EV vehicle is going to take a decent amount of time.
You can order on the touchscreens with menu options including the Tesla burger, fried chicken and waffles, cinnamon roll, and more.
We got our order. We have the grilled cheese, side of bacon with electric sauce, and then we got the Tesla burger.
We also got to see Optimus handing out popcorn to diners.
I was very impressed by the robot serving pop.
And of course, this is also a way for them to introduce people to the robots, the Optimus robots that they expect people once they come out in bulk for people to purchase and to use. And a lot of people have seen iRobot and other movies like that, and they pretty much ain't prepared to have robots like that in their homes. So this is just another way for them to continue to introduce stuff to people that people haven't had an ability to see for themselves or see in their homes. So it's a good opportunity for Tesla and people over in LA and Hollywood area to get introduced to stuff that's in our near future if you go that route.
It feels kind of like Disneyland, but for adults or Tesla owners. That's how I feel.
I wanted to see the Optimus. The food was pretty good.
All right, so check this out. This guy, Raymond, he's a BMW iX, and that's an electric BMW. So he doesn't have a Tesla, so check this out. But I want you to check something out he says.
About to get the adapter for my car.
He's going to get the adapter so he can charge his vehicle over at this Tesla diner. Just going to purchase a separate adapter so that he can charge his EV over there. And that's another thing, there's going to be situations, and this is all a money grab, let's face it. And it's a fantastic money grab by Tesla. And the idea that you have this Tesla diner that EVs can charge, even, owners of other EVs other than Tesla, like the BMWs, get you an adapter, which is going to cost you money, so you're going to spend money probably with Tesla to get an adapter just to charge your BMW over at this Tesla diner. The ultimate money grab of electric vehicles is massive, and it could be a great boom for a lot of people. But, of course, only people it's being a great boom for right now is Tesla.
So I can charge here, so I probably will be back. Bring my girl.
If you're a Tesla owner and if you order from your car ahead of time, you don't have to wait in line. We waited for about an hour and 30 minutes.
Less than 24 hours after opening, the line at the Tesla diner stretched down the block. Elon Musk says if the diner goes well, he's looking to put them in major cities around the world.
Of course he is. I mean, we can expect it to be pretty much in all major cities very, very soon. Because Elon is one of those guys that implements these things very quickly. And even not dependent on, customer review or customer desire, but the fact is that if he is going to continue to the growth of Tesla, he's going to need Tesla diners in situations like this, because this is paramount to a gas station like a Buc-ee's or something like that. This is paramount to a gas station for EVs, okay? It is allowing you to sit there, eat, watch movies, to have some degree of fun while you sit there and wait for your Tesla to charge, because let's face it, they still have not conquered the idea that it only takes you a couple of minutes to gas up a gas-powered vehicle, and it takes you 30, 45 minutes to an hour to power up an EV. And they have to get to a point where they build some kind of infrastructure that you not only can charge up your Tesla vehicles, but you feel okay about having to sit there and do it. That's how I feel. It's just unless they come up with a way to charge these EV vehicles a lot quicker, this is going to be an extremely hard sell for a lot of people who are driving around right now. Specifically people who take long trips and drive for a couple of hours at a time and like to drive long distances on the weekends to visit family. These are not people who are amped to buy EV vehicles, because they are not amped to miss out on 35, 45 minutes of their day waiting for an EV vehicle to be charged. That's why I always said that if you have an EV vehicle, if you don't have a home charger, it's going to be a problem for you, because you know, if you like wasting that kind of amount of time, you know, charge up your vehicle, fine and dandy. But the majority of people like me just don't have the time to do it. Just don't have the time to sit there and wait. Maybe you could, you know, and kind of the basis of the diner situation. When you're charging your vehicle, maybe you could get some work done sitting in the diner. You could watch a movie like they promote. You could get something to eat. They're creating a world where we understand that you're going to lose 35, 45 minutes. So here, let's give you something to do while those 35, 45 minutes are getting taken away from you. Let's give you something fun to do. And on top of that, let's give you something to spend your money on. It's all based around a financial gain for Tesla. This is all a boom. It's all a boom. A financial boom that you're creating a place where lots of people can charge their Teslas. So lots of people are going to start buying more Teslas. You're creating a place where they can sit down and eat. So they're spending money on the food at your diner. And it's creating a place where people could be introduced to the Optimus robot, so that in the future, when the Optimus robot comes available for people, they already have some introduction to it and they feel safer to purchase it. And they feel like they're not going to get the iRobot experience that Will Smith got. So, that's what it is. Now, I'm going to go over there probably next weekend. I think we're going to head over there and check out the Tesla Diner. Hopefully, it's eased up to the point where the line is not super duper long. And we'll see what it's about. But I really think it's just another boom for Elon Musk and Tesla. And if he implements it in all major cities, it's going to be that thing that's going to help him build that infrastructure that's going to be needed for EVs to be a mainstay. All right, guys, I am Chrysler. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Car Concierge Show. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit me in the DMs if you have any questions about cars, planes, or anything else. And I'm out. Peace.